And when we think about what's contributed to shaping our local history, we think of people, places, and technology. But weather can have more of a role on that history than you might think. I got a unique look on how the weather impacted the operation of the Missouri State Penitentiary in this special report. It's known as the bloodiest 47 acres in America, one of the largest prisons west of the Mississippi. Once home to 4,900 inmates, the Missouri State Penitentiary has weathered mid-Missouri's hot summers, bitter winters, and severe storms. Michael Gruss served as the final warden here for 32 years. Now he's a tour guide, walking the same cell blocks he did until 2004.
In the early days, there were simply no utilities. There was no air conditioning, there was no electricity, and there was no plumbing, there was no heat systems. And so they were really subject to the conditions of living almost outdoors.
Gruss explained that the rock the housing is made of provided no relief from the changing conditions. On a sunny summer day, in a building like this, you physically need something to separate the warmer and the cooler air. And that was sunlight. Sunlight shining through the eastern windows and the western windows, heating up the air, allowing warmer air to rise and cooler air to sink. But there was a way for inmates to control the temperature of their cells by using paint to make temporary heat curtains.
If you had a window in your cell that was facing the west, for example, you would paint that window in the summer so that the sun didn't shine in and heat up your cell. And then what they would do is scrape the same paint off in the fall and let that afternoon sun come in and heat their cells.
Though the summer heat was unbearable at times, it was not potentially deadly like the winter months. The then inmates worked hard building the prison in those conditions.
There had to be weather-related deaths to the winter when they're not able to warm up. These people worked in a rock quarry building this penitentiary, and say it's January and 15 degrees outside and they work several hours in the cold, if that were you coming home, you would go into the nearest heat register or heat source. They had none here.
But as time went on, more modern accommodations were introduced to help those living inside.
We built our own ice plant here, and we let them have almost an unlimited supply of ice. In each housing unit, we have a couple ice machines like this, and then we ran a route several times a day to make sure these were kept full of ice all the time. So every inmate in the prison during weather like this that's just almost unbearable without any kind of air conditioning or air movement, they were able to at least have all the ice that they wanted.
And while we were able to learn about the impacts of the heat and the cold for daily life, we couldn't leave without asking Michael one last question. So did the Missouri State Penitentiary have a severe weather plan?
Well, we have a lot of different configurations for prisons around the state. In this particular case, these are 1800s buildings built out of huge stone blocks. It'd take a tank to knock one of them down. So our weather plan basically is to stay in the housing units.
And with that, Gruss says the penitentiary will be able to weather the storm for years to come. In Jefferson City, meteorologist Elise Smith, KRCG 13.
Well, Elise, I guess it was a great thing they were built like tanks, just like he said, because I mean, really, what do you do with prisoners in a tornado?
That's
right?
Hard to imagine.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and that was a really unique idea. And if you guys have any other stories or weather history ideas that you'd like to share with me, feel free to do so, because this was a culmination of living in Missouri for a year and some change now, and everyone really cares about the local history.
Yeah.
So I thought, wouldn't it be cool to try and combine local history with what I do, which is the weather?
Yeah, and I know there are stories you enjoy telling, Elise.
Yes.
So
And a lot of interest in that old state penitentiary, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay.